Okay, welcome, Drink with James, episode 119. I did have something I wanted to say. Oh, I'm not often one to do things online that people think are interesting, at least not anymore. Okay, so I didn't come up with this, but I saw this influencer. He was posting his, you know how you guys, you can share your post in your stories and they can tap on the center of it and go to the actual post. I saw someone the other day who, when they shared that post to the story, they zoomed in on it so it filled the entire screen. And then if you go to the sticker button and you type in tap here, there's an icon that's a circle that kind of pulses that says tap here that you can put right in the middle of the post. And so it gives you a full, your post that it is full screen, and it's got the tap here that's kind of blinking. It looks like an Instagram feature that everyone watching is like, why don't I have that? Why can't I do that? But it's just taking that post, try it. I did this the other day. I got a bunch of people asking me how to do it. I put it on my stories, but you can see it here. Try it out. I think it looks prettier than just sharing the post a lot of times. So there's not a lot of little content focused tips, but old dogs, new tricks. I can teach you all the things. I could teach you about, well, that's about it. I can teach you things about Instagram. I could teach you how to blow dry your hair more effectively, probably. I think those are really my sphere of influence doesn't extend beyond those two things. Influencer conference is Friday. We are amped. I don't even know if we'll have tickets left when this goes live, but if we do, lucky you. If you're thinking about coming and you have some reason you're not, send Tim an email. Tim is here to pitch you all week. Tim at Fohr.co. Send him a note, say, Tim, pitch me on the influencer conference. Pitch me why I should go, and he is going to send a custom, impassioned pitch back to you on why you should be in attendance. This is 1 week only. If you see this video and it's past October 12th, 2018, your time has passed. The conference has come and gone. You've lost your chance for Tim's special custom pitch. If it's 2090 and you're seeing this video, and this is the only thing left of humanity, I hope I was wealthy. I hope I died a rich man, and I can promise you that all of humanity wasn't like this. This is the pinnacle. From here, it just went downhill. I don't want the aliens, whoever's looking at this, to think that this is what humanity was like. It's not. But I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyway, let's get into the questions, okay? Question number 1. What is the best way to connect with other creators? Good question. Instagram and YouTube and the blogosphere, as it were, full of amazing people. Y'all should be working together more frequently, especially if you're at similar levels, especially if you have an audience that you think would be into the other person, but you feel like maybe they don't follow each other. I'll tell you one thing. If you reach out to someone, whatever you do, brand or influencer, never write down the word collab. If you ever tell someone you want to collab, yo, let's collab, be great to collab, that is an immediate hard pass. So first, let's just say what you shouldn't do. Don't say collab. Okay, so that's really it in the what you shouldn't do column is just don't say collab. It's a fucking atrocity of a word. So how should you do it? I mean, I think structurally, what's the best way to connect with them? You guys know how to get into touch with each other. I think it's more about what should you do. I think I've talked before about what like Cy and Helena from Scout and City and Brooklyn Blonde, they've been doing these kind of like fun projects that are not sponsored, that are not paid, that are just supposed to be entertaining for their audience. I think that like if you're doing a collaboration, it should come from a place not of how can I gain followers, you know, how can I get in front of more brands, et cetera, et cetera. That is, yes, it should do those things ideally if it's done well, but what does this person have that I don't have, and how can we do something interesting together? Or do I just like vibe with this person really well creatively, and I think we can have a really fun story? So I think it should be rooted in what is a story that you want to tell that you can't tell on your own, and who can help you tell that story more effectively, and work with that person. Those are the best collaborations, I think. Those are the things that feel authentic and fun and interesting. It's not as fun when you can tell the like, especially during during Fashion Month, you get like small influencers who try and get photos with bigger influencers, and they post that photo and maybe in hopes that the bigger influencer will repost it. There's this whole like social climbing, you can't sit here, seats taken, like popularity contest thing that happens with influencers taking photos of each other, especially like leaving shows during Fashion Month. That is not interesting at all. You know, trying to get a photo with, you know, Shay or with, you know, I don't fucking know who you'd want to be out there getting photos with. Yeah, you like see Teza on the street and you're like, ooh, let's get a photo together and maybe she'll post it. That's not a collaboration. That's like what is that? That's just not interesting. I think I see all the time, I see influencers posting photos together and I'm like, I know you talk shit on each other. Like I know one of you does not like the other person. You're just doing this hoping that they will repost it so that you can get followers. But like, I had drinks with you last week, you were talking shit on this person for like 30 minutes and now you're like smiling, being like, ran into my fave outside of Celine. It's like, that's not a collaboration, okay? That is sad. So let's not do that, and let's step back and say, I have a creative vision, I am incapable of executing that vision on my own, one, or I think that vision will be even clearer if this other person is involved too, and do something beautiful together that's interesting and send it to me, because I'm always down to see beautiful and interesting things. Yeah, when you're targeting these people to reach out to, yeah, you want to look to someone who's about your size, maybe a little bigger, maybe a little smaller in terms of follower size. Don't put a big influencer in a position of having to say no to you, because it will feel predatory. It will feel like you grab them outside of a show because you see all the street style photographers and you're hoping that they'll take a photo of the two of you together and that'll get on Vogue.com, and then she'll have to post it as well and you'll get more followers because she'll tag you. That feels parasitic. It feels like predatory kind of. So smaller followings about the same size, a little bit bigger, totally reach out. The other side is like, if you are, you know, if you have something to offer as far as like you're a filmmaker or you're an amazing photographer, I think then your work can speak for it. It's not about your followers. So if you're an incredible photographer and you have 3,000 followers, you know, but you really want to shoot with this influencer, then I would say feel free to reach out, because it's the work that should be interesting to them, not the fact that you guys are going to be in a photo together. So it depends on what your angle is, but definitely be cognizant of following size, and don't make someone say no to something that you know they're never going to do, because I don't know. I know there's the like nothing ventured, nothing gained state of mind, and I generally am very like for that, but it's a small industry, and best to, I think, be realistic. Question number 2, how can I deal with harassment and bullying in a professional way? Hate I think we've talked a little bit about this before, but like the byproduct of having a following is having people that don't like you very much. That's number one. Like, you are going to get hate, you're going to get people saying mean things. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the internet. That is what you signed up for. Nobody has forced you to have a following. Nobody has said you have to post photos of yourself every day and get hundreds of thousands of followers. The side effect of being in the public eye is that sometimes the public eye doesn't think you're so great, and sometimes they want to say that. And I understand it sucks when people are mean on the internet. That is kind of the internet. That's one thing. Just like, let's put it in kind of a few categories. We'll answer that. What do I do when people are just being shitty or say just a mean thing? Harassment is a different thing. If people are harassing you, the platforms have gotten better and better about taking these things very seriously. Report them, go through the official channels to report them. Generally, these things get shut down. Reach out to Instagram, reach out to Twitter, wherever this is happening, and try and deal with it in official capacity, because harassment is different than someone being mean to you and saying, hey, you don't look so good in that, or, I think you look ugly, or I hate you. So harassment, deal with it officially. I wouldn't poke the bear. I wouldn't engage. Just try and get them off the platform. Again, Instagram, Twitter have gotten much, much better about that because they've come under so much heat for allowing it for so long and kind of turning a blind eye. So we've got the category of someone being mean to you, right? You've got one where they're just like, someone is just saying a shitty thing to you. So they're saying something shitty about the way you look. They're saying something shitty about whatever, something bigoted, something sexist, like that stuff sucks. And there is absolutely no basis for it whatsoever. I wouldn't sick your following on them. I wouldn't start a big fight with them. I would just block them, report it as harassment as well. Just go through the official thing, the official Instagram, what do I want to say, channels to deal with that. But don't turn it into a huge fight and turn your following against them. You then just give that person your platform. You've just handed your platform over to someone for free. For what reason? To say like, fuck you, you shouldn't say this? Like, I don't see how that's a win for you. I think you have then taken someone who said something hurtful and given them the platform that they wanted in the first place, which is a lot of attention. So I don't think when influencers go after people in that way, I don't think the person they go after is like sitting at home being like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for doing this. I think they're laughing because I think that was the whole point. That is what trolling is. Trolling is saying ridiculous shit that is completely not based in any sort of reality to get someone to respond. That's it. So like, if you respond, you've just done the exact thing that they want. Block them, delete the comment, move on, don't engage. Now, other side, what if someone says to you, hey, feels like you've been doing a lot of sponsored posts recently. Hey, kind of sucks how you used to always talk about affordable things and now all you talk about is luxury stuff that nobody could afford. Hey, maybe, don't talk about something this way, like it might be nice for you that you don't have to shop at Target, but I do. So like if you could not be like a complete bitch about that, that would be nice. Something like that, right? Like if they say something that is based on some action or behavior of yours, again, the first reaction is to jump down their throat and say like, hey, this is my job. Like I'm doing sponsored posts because I have a living to make and this is like me trying to make a living. So like, you don't have to follow me, just unfollow. Again, I would step back, understand that you cannot win arguments. If somebody is saying something like that, I think the best thing to do is say, hey, thank you so much for the feedback. I totally hear you. This is the way I make money, and I try and do sponsored posts that are going to be, that I think my audience would be interested in. Totally happy to have a conversation on email if you feel like I've been doing posts that aren't in line with what you're interested in your life. Hey, totally understand that I used to talk about a lot more affordable options. I've been fortunate enough recently that my financial situation has changed, and I am able to afford things that are more expensive. But you're right, I shouldn't completely forget about why you guys came here in the first place, and I should include more affordable options. Like, you can shut down criticism very quickly by just listening to it and looking at yourself and saying, like, what if they're not wrong? Maybe they are saying this thing in a way that hurt my feelings initially, and we're animals, right? Like, we are just reptiles, and like when somebody punches, you want to punch back. But if you can just wait a couple minutes and step back and say, okay, sure, they said this thing that in a way that was hurtful and there was a better way to do it, but what if instead of attacking them for giving their honest opinion, I engaged them and asked them a question and listened? This is not dissimilar to how I ended up meeting Valerie from a few episodes back. She had a criticism of me. I listened, and I didn't say, you got it wrong, you interpreted it wrong, that's not what I meant. I said, you're totally right, that was off, that was not the right way to say things, I'd love to talk more about it. I've learned so much from her and from the other people who were commenting on that post by just stepping back and listening. So don't engage the trolls, but if your audience is saying, I don't agree with what you're doing anymore, or I don't recognize this Instagram anymore, or I'm not finding it valuable, and you attack them instead of engaging them, I think you will find that in a couple years you'll be looking and your community will be gone, and you'll say, what happened? And it is because you thought you were better than your followers. And you're not. You are in service of them. They have given you this life. By hitting the follow button hundreds of thousands of times, they have given you a life beyond your wildest imagination. And when one of them has the guts to stand up and say, hey, I think you're kind of boring now, and I think you used to be awesome, that should scare you enough to reach out and say, let's talk about this, not to say, I'm gonna sick my people on you and make you feel really shitty for saying this thing. So it's a harder thing to do. I encourage you to do it though. Listen to the people who in your life, here's some general life advice. Listen to the people in your life who don't necessarily think you're the shit. Listen to the people in your life who criticize you openly. Especially for my influencers out here who are watching, who have a following over 100, 200, 300, 500,000 followers. Once you have a bigger following, you get in this echo chamber where you start to believe that you're great, but you're not great. You're nothing. You're nothing but like a very lucky individual. And you have the life you have because of your following. And if you start to believe the things that people say about you online, either way, right? Like if you start to believe when everyone is like, oh my God, you're amazing, you're a goddess, you're perfect, I love you so much, you're such an inspiration, that shit starts going to your head and you start actually thinking you're this big inspiration, and you're probably not. So like, and that is a hard thing for everyone to realize, like, that you're just not that special, but like that's humanity. And like we have our little slice of time on this earth to try and make a mark. And like, again, if you're lucky enough to find some success and to find a group of people who are interested in you and interested in your life, and some of them raise their hand and say that I don't like what's happening, take the time to listen. You always say we need to increase our engagement. How can we do this? Every successful business finds that success by trial and error, by experimentation. And I think what gets frustrating in the influencer space is there is a lack of interest in experimenting, there is a lack of interest in testing things, and there's a lack of interest in data-driven growth. So I think if you're frustrated with your low engagement levels, try something different. Try a new kind of post, try a new way of talking to people, try a new posting schedule, whatever it might be. Try new things and track how they do. You know, on average, I get 6 to 8,000 people seeing my posts. I've got 22,000 followers, 6 to 8,000 people on an average post see it. Now, the freshman class post I did with Sarah Jessica and Oscar, where I wrote the whole thing about why we're doing Fohr freshman class, that has 76,000 impressions. So 3 times my following saw it. Now, that is probably not replicable, but if I was looking at it saying, how do I increase engagement? I would probably write more. It seems like the posts where I write a lot and I have something actually meaningful to say do a lot better for me and for my audience. So I would do that. I wouldn't have learned that if I didn't write a post with a caption this long. Again, you're not always going to have these big moments and these big things to say, but it always frustrates me when I speak to influencers who are like, I've been doing this for a year or 2 years or 5 years and I don't know what's happening, and you go to their feed and you cannot see any experimentation happening. You can't see them trying anything new. And it's like, how are you going to unlock what is going to take you to the next level if you just do the same thing over and over and over and over again? And if you look at this as a business that's going to go on for years, even if you say, okay, I'm going to look at the next 2 years of my Instagram, 1 week of that is one 100. What's 1/104th? It's less than 1%. So if you look at the next 2 years and you take 1 week and you say, I'm going to do something drastically different this week, that is like 0.9% of the next 2 years of your content, which is to say, it doesn't mean anything. And like the things you do with 1 week of your feed have no lasting effect over 2 years of that feed. But if you learn something in that week, if you learn something that works or you learn something that doesn't work, that is massively valuable over the next 2 years. If you can figure out in a week of fairly significant experimentation that you can get 10% more reach on your posts if you do this thing, and then you extrapolate that 10% reach out over the course of 2 years, the change is enormous. Enormous. You're talking magnitudes more people that are going to be seeing your posts, more and more people that are going to be following. Like, it would make an enormous difference. That's if you could go from 10,000 people seeing your post to 11,000 people. But you have to experiment, and you have to have spreadsheets, and you have to say, week 1, experiment 1, this is what I'm doing, these are the results. Week 2, another experiment, these were the results. Do that, find the things that work, find the things that don't work, and once you find something that works, go in hard on that, and try and get better and better at it, and then continue to loop in new experiments so you can learn. This is not rocket science, but you cannot just post the same shit over and over again, not get the results you want, and then whine about it. That's not an option. Not an option that I care to listen to. So, I felt like I didn't have a lot to say, and then, like magic, a bunch of shit came out. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna go now. Cheers.